Hey guys, it's David Dutton, and this is Kill Phil. So last week we killed Phil, but don't worry, we're putting him back together. He's gonna be back next week for the 5th element. And can you guess what gun we're doing? I'm getting a lot of requests to do the full build from last week's episode, the arc generator from District 9. Don't worry, I got it, and I did a special edit for you guys. Come on.
I was talking with someone else about influences of weapons. This is your Aliens pulse rifle from Aliens Resurrection. Look at the shape. See the influence? And this came before District 9. Now, if you want to think about pulse rifles, the first one before this, from Aliens, was this one. Look at the difference in design. This sort of has Jim Cameron's stamp on it. This one, look at the shape of it. Where are they going to fire projectiles through? You have very little room for a straight barrel. I mean, that's the only point. It's right through here. So whatever you're jacking into this guy, that's got to go up, down, and out. But I just want to show you the influence of what I noticed. And I'm probably sure a lot of you guys noticed too. Now we're doing a side-by-side comparison. So my first choice is to try and go for the shapes. So as you can see, you've got this shape. This is what I'm achieving so far. Okay, and the shapes that I'm getting here, I'm not unhappy with. What I've done here is I've taken an airsoft gun. This is part, and this is part right here, and cut it up. Here's what's left of the barrel. This was originally, as you can see, it's freshly cut. This was originally one whole gun. This, and this. Now some people would cut it out of wood and make a brace. I don't want to do that. I wanted metal because I wanted actually to have a feel and a weight. This is something I do with a lot of my weapons, so the actors, when they play with them, they feel like they're using the real thing. I'm going to shred this gun here and pull the targeting off of it because it actually has 2 blue pieces and a laser here, which will allow me to target exactly what I need. All right, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to cut the handle off of this guy, and I'm going to reposition the handle because although I like the shape here, the handle is to drop back for a person to use it. I'm going to leave the trigger where it is because I like the angle of the trigger, and I'll probably heat it and bend it so it's easier. What I'm going to do now is cut the handle off and cut part of this off. So going in. All right, I need this. So what I'm going to do now is reposition this guy down. I'm going to use a piece of this to drop it in place and put another piece in here to fill the gap. I've cut the handle off of here and I've fitted a piece of wood for the trigger. But if you noticed, I'm moving the trigger with the piece of wood. So what I'm going to do now, because I want the trigger to free float, is I'm going to snip it with some 10 snips. I'm going to snip the actual piece in there that's touching. I want that off. Doesn't matter to me because I'm not using that trigger. So now I've cut the trigger actuator in there because I don't need it to do anything. I want to get a bend in this trigger. And you're probably thinking, that guy's crazy doing that with his fingers. I have calluses all over my hands. And what the calluses are from is Kung Fu, so I don't feel it. So now I've got the trigger shaped to the way I want it. Let me see if I like it better this way. Always check too, when you're building something, see if the way you've built it the first time, if the fit is exactly what you want, or if you can change it around and maybe find something else. You never know if the shape is going to help you out. Now see, I like that. That's pretty close for what I want. And then I can shape the top of this once I Bondo it. I'm going to shape it and drop it in a little bit more. They show 2 bottles on this. They show one here and one here. I went looking for a decent bottle. They have lots of water bottles, but I thought since I'm building this, I'd choose a cooler bottle. Okay, so I have no idea what it is. It came from an aircraft supply house, and it cost me all of probably about $4 or $5. So I've been looking at different lids. I think this one's kind of cool, but it's too tall. I'll probably end up cutting one down, or I'll find something else I like, something along this line. If you've got screws or nuts, use them. If there's something there, use it because it's already come. You got a free hole. So this is all satellite dish stuff, and they came with free screws. So use them. The other bottle I have to use, a thermos. Okay, what I'm doing right now, and I've already started, is I'm bondoing this handle. Now, those of you who use Bondo, you'll notice that this Bondo is extremely red. That's not normal for most people, but for effects it is, because I want it to kick off as fast as I can possibly get it to go. I'm going to be making it kick off fast and shaping it and kicking it and shaping it and kicking it. Bondo is something most people use only for cars. Here's the key to working Bondo for those of you who never have. Work it while it's at its leather stage. You have to let it get to a certain phase. It gets rock hard later on if you wait too long to do what you need. I need to get rasps to work. Now the normal ones that you will probably find, you can find these at the flea markets or any car and auto body store. This is your regular rasp. It has flat across here and it has a curved angle across here. So you see it's flat here and there. But these are a different version. These are Italian artists' rasps. You can find these at art stores, and as you notice, they're smaller than the automotive one, and they're multiple shapes. I want to knock this stuff down with the rasps, you see? Before it ever gets to sandpaper point, before I ever touch it with sandpaper, I want to pre-shape it with my rasps. Okay? So I'm going to pre-shape this guy. So now you see it's just flaking off. Later on, this thing will be so hard I would never be able to do that. That's why I'm doing it now. You have to watch it. It's what they call the clay stage of your Bondo. It's soft. I can actually fingerprint it and thumbprint it right now. All right, what I'm going to do now is I have this bottle, and the bottle has a nice end, which I like. I'm going to use the end that's on the factory end, but I need a coupler end, and this is going to be my coupler end right here. What I'm going to do is just super glue this guy in place, but later on, so it doesn't come off, I'm going to use expanding foam so that it integrates the whole thing into one part. Super glue is your friend. This is the Maxi Cure stuff, and this has been my friend for as long as Star Trek has been around. So what I'm going to do is do a seal on this guy, take the part that I want, set it in place, and then turn it a little bit. And the reason I'm going to turn it a little bit is to make sure that the whole surface covers. Now it's in place, and it's time for kicker. This is accelerator, which is cyanoacrylate accelerator. And what it does is makes your super glue go off instantly. For those of you who have never used it, realize this. If you put accelerator and super glue on your hand, it will burn you. So just be aware of that. All right, there's our first tube. And like I said, I'm going to go back and do this. I'm going to fill this with foam. And what the foam will do is I'll fill it from this end and cap it, and the foam will run through into here and lock this on, so no longer will it be just one piece. Before I do that, I'm going to drill a hole in the end and put a steel rod in there, or probably a screw so that I can actually screw it into place. But I'll lock it in place, glue the rod in, and then foam it all. So now I'll have a thing like this with a rod that goes all the way through it for support, and then enough thread out so I can thread it into place and it won't just fall off and break. Our thermos friend here, I kind of like it, but the end is incorrect. This end I kind of like, but it's not quite right for this. So what I'm probably going to do is this. I think that'll do. I think that'll give me that pretty much the shape of the end of it. I'll have a choice of end tips, but I think that's my best one. The other one I'm going to use, what I'm going to do with this guy, is I'm going to cut it down and just use the center section. And I will probably drop it in one end or the other. I'll see how much of this tube I want to use. Since this guy here actually has threads, that means I can actually lock it down. So anytime you have something like that, it's good. If you can weld onto it, that's even better. Okay, just to run over parts again real quick, what you're looking at. This was a heat induction tube off of an old stove. This piece here came off of an airsoft gun that was some kind of launcher. It's the same one they used for Aliens. This, and this, the gray parts here were actually parts of a satellite dish, like a Dish Network used satellite dish, and I trimmed the parts off and cut them around backwards. This was actually from two different ones, so they're almost the same piece, but it's one turn this way, one turn this way. And the reason being that I wanted this guy because of the shape and the size, and also I pop riveted in here. I changed position, cut these down a little bit and pop riveted so I have the general look. Now, as we saw earlier, Bondo time, and I got the trigger where I wanted it now. I'm back in action again here, and what I'm doing right now is making some more parts for the gun. As you can see, I've gotten a little bit of a ways here ahead now. I managed to get a lot of the parts done last night. I have some finishing to do. One of the main things I had to get over the hump on was the spine, that guy. And so I had to, since I couldn't find anything, I went to several different places looking for organic stuff, as I call it, things already made. Couldn't find anything, so I had to make my own. And what I did was, this is a PVC pipe end cap, is what this was. And then this was a leftover from Atlas Shrugged from the motor that I made. So I took one of these guys and chipped it, as I say. I cut it down so you can see the original length and what it ended up being. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour up a part. And the material I use is called Silcast 2. What I'm going to do here is that's part A and part B. And this stuff's equal parts. This stuff's pretty much half and half by weight, others half and half by volume. Okay, so right now it's fully liquid, right? Okay, and like I said, I want to make sure it's going off. Now some of the stuff goes off extremely fast. This is the part we cast, but I'm pulling this guy out of the mold now. There's your part.
Oh, cool. Oh man, you just gotta
trim it with a razor blade, done. It's almost ready, but I need to flatten it a little bit. I've hit it on the bandsaw, and I'm going to take it on a board that I've glued heavy grit to and rotate it and give it a circular motion. And I'm not unhappy with what I have. Like I said, it was a quickie. The only thing that I wish I could have had the time to do was I realized that the end thing is a spark plug. I thought it looked kind of cool, but I have the solution for that. I'm going to use one of these little guys. Again, what this was, so I now tie it in shape-wise. And let me see. Rotate these guys till the proper one comes to play. There we are. All right. When doing things by eye, you try to get them all in the same position as best you can. I'll have to go through. Oh, one of the strange things I thought I'd tell you about. For those of you that know old school stuff, this is from Space 1999. This is one of the landing pod parts. So if they had 4 big square boxes on their actually hexagonal boxes on their landing gear, this is one of those boxes. Okay, so things you need. This is a leftover from a Star Wars model kit. These were custom Nerny parts that I used just because I like the shape, and they cover something. Now, what are they covering? Okay, so when you do something like this, you know it's going to be some fun to do. I like to make stuff that's not static, right? So when this guy locks his hand down, there we go. And then you want to change the modes, you just kick the trigger. Now what activates? It's not the trigger. It's your thumb. When you bring your hand down in on it, there's a thumb button right there. So if you kick it from that side, it's your thumb that sets it off, and then your finger trigger it to change modes. Now how do you do this without having a ton of money? Go to your local store that sells auto parts stuff. And nowadays people are dressing up their cars. This is about a $35 light system that I shoved in here. Didn't even take it apart because I'm trying to do something that you can do at home, right? There's one strip of lights that runs across here in the top and another strip of lights that runs down in the bottom. So I had already built this guy. I'm like, dang, where do I put the battery pack, right? I hid it. This is the battery pack. It's a blue pack about this long that I glued in place. And then I glued these guys on it to hide it and made it a part of the body. What do you think? All right, there's wires on this guy in different spots. So what I'm doing right now is drilling my access holes. What I'm doing right now is doing the front plug-in for this guy. So I've taken a stereo cable wire, which is an old dead one that I've got. And now what I'm going to do is mount it on the front of that guy. Okay. And something you should notice too, the original one showed, the actual drawing shows this sort of hook thing. Okay, well I could make one, or I used an electrical reticle that I went to the hardware store and bought, which has the general shape. You think about it, when you're looking at a gun on TV and you go, you know, I want to make that gun. My thing about when I'm going to make one is I ask, what did it do? Why did it do what it did? So if I know that, I start from there and go backwards. When you're running wires, you think of A, where's it going, what's it doing, why is it going there? So you find the spot that you like it in, so it looks good aesthetically and looks like it's going to something. That's your key. Not just bundled into one big nerve center and going nowhere. Last drop of glue. No complaints. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint the orange on this guy. I'm going to mask these little important parts off and shoot this guy. For those of you that usually use paints for this kind of stuff, I recommend Krylon. Today I'm stuck with using Rust-Oleum because it was the only thing I could find. I think I'll use this as a block. All right, there's our start. By the time you see this, I'll have this guy painted again.
1, 2, 3.
Get your film fix. Subscribe to CineFix.